Jason Curtis, and this is literally my backyard my whole life. I grew up on the bank of the river here, and this river's been my life really. It's been my playground as a child, and it's been my livelihood as an adult. I spent my whole time here on the river, and it's been the best life imaginable, really, and I can't imagine ever having, doing anything else. It was, like I say, it was our playground all year, really. We were paddling around and fishing as kids, and it just kind of went from there, and kind of graduated into the outfitting business. My grandfather was an outfitter next door here. He had 2 little camps, so I grew up literally with fishing clients, sports in the yard for as long as I can remember, having clients in the yard here, and so I really grew up in the business, and we just kind of graduated from that into guiding, really, and just kind of kept going with it. So yeah, no, it's been fun for sure.
How many years has the Curtis family, and how many generations have they lived and worked on the Miramichi River and the Canes place?
Yeah, I think we've been here 7 generations now as a clan, and the last 4 generations have been heavily involved in the outfitting and guiding type thing. From back in the early days of Wade's and the first camps and in this area, and they all worked there at one time or another, and so we've been around the river and for a long time for sure. So Dad, Wayne Curtis, and he's been writing for 50 years or more, since all my life that I can remember, really, and doing stories, and so we've had a lot of interaction there, and my dad's brother Herb as well did a lot of writing, and some fabulous books as well, and it's kind of in the Curtis blood a little bit, I guess, and we've it's been a fun ride, really, to have the people in the family and the talent.
I know Herb was part of Shadrach and Dryfly.
Yes.
Have you inherited some of their musical genes?
Well, we all, I think every one of us, we're all kind of, guitar players for the most part, and it was fun here growing up as a kid. I mean, we had bonfires most evenings type thing, and Herb was always had the guitar and playing and singing his old songs, and so actually I've learned a lot of them over the years, and just so they don't disappear, and so they're still around, and if the right campfire hits, you'll still hear a few. So, well, there was a lot of fun here growing up. There was a lot of cousins, and there was a lot of family. So we played on the river here, and we used to do fly casting competitions amongst our cousins type thing. We paddled and pulled canoes here at very young ages, and so we would have a very blessed childhood for sure, to be able to spend it here on the river and get as much enjoyment out of it as we did.
Yeah,
for sure.
How did you get interested in salmon fishing, and did you have a mentor?
Well, I mean, really, that's all we really knew growing up. I mean, we started out when we were, fishing brooks with sticks type thing, when we were too young to go to the river by ourselves, and we would be seeing fish jumping, my dad and uncles and would all be coming home with fish stories and fish at that time, and we were really out there at very young ages. I mean, I caught my first fish when I was 8, and and that was a Griltz. And the next year I caught my first large salmon at 9, which was kind of a neat story, really. It was really early in June, the first day or two of June, and I was up at kind of our home pool, again by myself, 9 years old with a fly rod, tossing a little dry fly along the shore trying to get a trout, and all of a sudden this nose comes up, pulls the fly under, and it's like, I figured I had the best trout in the river on my fly. And all of a sudden, it was about a 15-pound salmon jumped and, took off across the river. So it was funny. It was very early in the morning, and again, I was all by myself. And so I was about 300 yards up the shore. So I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this fish in by myself? So I decided to jump the little brook that was there and wade down along the shore to here. And so I'm down on the bank in front of the camp here, yelling my head off for someone to come help me. And everyone's still in bed, so no one hears me. So I then, back up to the next level of the bank, still fighting the fish, again, yelling my head off for someone to get out of bed and come help me with the salmon. And finally, after quite some time, my dad came out and, I said, I got one on type thing. And he come over the hill with the net and scooped the fish for me. So that was my first large fish, and by myself. It was a bit of a show for sure.
Do you remember what you caught it on? What fly?
It was a little dry fly. I know that I don't remember exactly, but probably rat-faced McBugle at the time. I used all the time for trout. So
Fish
I assume
you think you have caught over your lifetime, and also the people that you've guided fishing.
Yeah.
Just a rough number, please.
It would be, I don't know. I mean, it would be, well over 1,000,
Yeah.
more, or, much more than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe 1,500, to 2,000, that type of range.
Wow.
'Cause, I mean, I used to be, I'm not as much now as I was, but I used to be a very, hard fisherman. And even guiding, I would, get up early, less to be able to work, at home for a lot of time. So I would go fish for an hour before work, and then I'd get home at lunchtime, and I would, either grab my wife or whatever, and we'd go out fish for an hour or two at lunchtime, and then come back in and fish. So a lot of years I was, was catching 75 to 120 fish myself.
Wow.
Just
per year.
just fishing around the edges of the times that I was guiding.
Yeah.
So and then it was back in when I was a kid, it was we used to just catch so many because it wasn't a big deal to catch them at that time.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
It was there were so many fish around, and if the conditions were anywhere near decent, you caught fish every time you went. It was just the way it was.
Wow.
And even as a kid here, we used to see the guides like from Wade's. Wade's is just upriver from us, and we would see them motoring up and down the river. And the Wade's guides, back in those days, to us kids were like royalty. Seeing them motoring up and down the river, and it was really something that you wanted to be a part of if you could ever even dream of it. Just like I say, it was a big deal to see them going, and you'd stand and watch when they. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Two guys in particular that come to mind. I mean, when we were kids here, of course, there was no internet. We had no access to the outside fishing and hunting world other than, Field and Stream and Outdoor Life magazines. That was it, right? We got those, we looked at it, and, we could see what life was like in other parts of the world. And, reading as a kid, Jerome Robinson and Duncan Barnes, those two guys, were a big influence on me and their writings for fishing and for upland hunting as well. I mean, I've been a fairly passionate upland guide my whole life as well, and and you know, those guys reading their stories as kids, you know, really made a difference. It really did, and so I was fortunate enough to, you know, to be able to guide both of them a number of times.
Wow.
And become friends, and you know, still keep in contact every few weeks with an email here or there. So to go from that, I mean, like I say, growing up here and picking up a Field and Stream magazine and reading an article about whatever. I mean, it could be, you know, quail hunting or you know, trout fishing or salmon fishing or whatever it was, and to be able to, you know, read those stories, and then, you know, years later be sitting in the boat with the same guy, hearing them firsthand.